In episode 131 and chapter 304 of My Hero Academia, during Deku's discussion with the predecessors of One For All, the first user, Yoichi, says something very interesting to Deku, where it got me thinking, can Deku create a new variant or version of One For All by having kids? I know it's a little weird to think about, but this theory could solve the problem of Deku potentially being unable to pass on One For All anymore. Let me explain. So in chapter 304, it was revealed that the fourth user had died of old age despite him being only 40 years old at the time of his death. The reason for this is because he had possessed multiple quirks, that being his original quirk Danger Sense and One For All, a quirk given to him by his predecessor the third. In the final years of his life, he ended up forming two cracks on his face due to possessing multiple quirks eating away at his very life, causing a shorter lifespan. So someone who is quirkless like All Might and Deku would never have a shorter lifespan because they never had a quirk to begin with, where One For All would place this heavy burden on their body due to them already having a quirk. Since All Might had possessed One For All for the longest without having to suffer through any burden of any kind from having two quirks in one body, we learned from Yoichi that All Might is the only One For All user to imbue One For All with a true piece of his consciousness, while the 2nd through 7th users only have fragments of their consciousness within One For All due to their essence already being hardwired to their original quirk factors before receiving One For All. All Might was the only user that was truly able to make One For All his own quirk since he was quirkless from the beginning. It's why All Might even appears in the One For All world to begin with, because One For All truly became his quirk, making his essence fully hardwired into it. Now, because One For All happens to be a quirk that only a quirkless individual is capable of using without any early life-ending drawbacks, Deku was told that he could possibly be the last One For All user due to there being barely any quirkless individuals in his day and age. Passing on One For All to someone who already has a quirk would basically be sentencing them to an early grave, so this war between One For All and All For One has to end with Deku being the final user. But what if I told you Deku didn't need to worry about passing on One For All because his kids would end up having a variant of it? As stated earlier, a person's essence is hardwired into their quirk factors, thus making that quirk theirs. All Might, though quirkless, was the only user that was able to make One For All his own since he didn't have a quirk factor prior to receiving it. With Deku being in the same boat as All Might, being quirkless and all, Deku will end up having One For All become his own quirk, thus making it his quirk factor and having a true piece of his consciousness within it as long as he has it for a while. As we know, when someone has a child, the child will inherit either one of the parents' quirks or maybe a mixture of both. Genetically speaking, Deku would technically only be able to pass on a quirk that is in his family's tree, such as fire breath from his father or the ability to pull small things towards themselves like his mother. But since he had received One For All, genetically speaking again, his genetics was changed due to One For All being given to him. We know a quirk can change one's genetics when being given a quirk because we've seen it happen in the flashback of All For One taking away someone's quirk, making them look human again, and giving the next person a quirk that had them grow spikes from his body. As explained by Aizawa, quirks are special additions to an ordinary body, also called the plus alpha elements. Everything included within the plus alpha are what they call the quirk factors. This would mean that Deku's body would have had to change in order to use One For All. That plus the knowledge of quirkless individuals like All Might and now Deku being able to imbue a true piece of their consciousness within One For All, it's safe to say that Deku could end up passing on a variant of One For All, that being a quirk that can meddle with other quirks, to one of his kids as long as he remains with One For All. Now, of course, we don't know if this is even possible, as none of the other users have been shown to have had children after receiving One For All, and most importantly, All Might hasn't been shown to have any kids that we are aware of, and he was the only One For All user at that point to make One For All his own. But if this is going to be the case in the future, then it would solve the issue of Deku being unable able to pass on one for all, because finding a quirkless individual will be extremely hard to find, especially someone who shares the same values and morals as Deku and the previous users of One For All. Instead, he would essentially be giving birth to a new quirk like One For All for the next generation to use for either good or evil. Let me know your thoughts on this theory in the comment section below. Could Deku end up passing on One For All unknowingly to his kids? Could that be how a sequel spin-off series starts? Let me know everything in the comment section below. With that said, thanks for watching another My Hero Academia theory related video. If you enjoyed the video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below and subscribe to the channel for more My Hero Academia content. Again, thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.